All right, what's up, family? It's your boy John Bacon from the Bitz podcast. Thank you so much for your support, likes, and ratings. Please don't just listen, but rate me, follow me, and subscribe. This is an amazing way to offer free support. My beautiful queen and I have some books that we have written for your growth.
So the first book we have is a workbook, actually. It's called Healthy Relationships, and this is a workbook through the lens of faith. Because what makes a relationship healthy or unhealthy? So this workbook is designed, it's a 12-week, it's a biblically grounded course, and every week has a few different principles. So if some of our principles, some of our topics that we're covering are respect, cultivating security. And this is not just between a husband and wife. This is between parents, between siblings, between friends, between your bosses, employers. So it's really important, and everyone deserves a healthy relationship.
And also we have The Balanced Life by John Bacon. It covers how to be prosperous in your finances, relationships, your health, your mind, and your spirit. And we also have
The Unraveling, a creative healing journal, pinings, poems, prayers, and ponderings of my precarious life. I've had a testimony of I've had 2 brain tumors and 2 brain surgeries, and I'm super grateful, but I'm still grieving the process of healing. And this is part of the process. In this book, you have devotionals, you have prayers, and you have some ponderings. And in between these pages, there's a space for you to also be prompted to paint and to create your own, or maybe you want to write something in these books. This is part of your creative healing journal that we get to walk through together.
And you guys can just head over to Kingdom Servants First. Kingdom Servants, the number 1, st.com. And you can purchase all 3 of these books. Thank you for your support, your love, and your contributions. God bless. And I want you to think about that. How many people have gotten married and they have kids, and it seems like on the outside they're doing good, but they are emotionally bankrupt, and then they destroy the very thing that they've created. What's up, family? Welcome to the Bacon Bitz podcast, where we desire for you to take the bits of information and immediately apply them to your life for success. The ground rules for our podcast is that we'll always be encouraging, uplifting, and informative. The areas of life that we will be talking about on the Bacon Bitz podcast is dealing with having a balanced life. And in order for me to get started, it's always these 5 words that I love saying out loud every time I teach. They are, and I need you to repeat them after me. Say valuable, information, applied equals success. So what I want to talk to you guys about on this episode is emotional perception. So I got some great responses this week because I had put a post up on my Facebook of something that I had received, and I thought it was such a blessing. And it says, men need to know that it's okay. Okay to do what? It's okay to talk about our feelings. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to break down. It's okay to cry, to need support, to be vulnerable. Oh my God, that word for men. And to go to therapy. And to also say it's okay to not be okay. So I had great responses from a lot of men when it came to that, because we feel like at all times we have to have our cape on. And I understand women have that situation too. Because as a single mom, guess what? Everything is relying upon you. So to always know that you have to be okay is not okay. We need to have moments where we can express our feelings and emotions, where we can be vulnerable, man, and just say, you know what, I'm hurting. I'm going through some things, but man, you know how we are. Feelings. And everyone has them, and we got to deal with that. And we all have different ways of dealing with it. So we got to come into that point. Are we going to be all up in our feelings, or will we do everything we can in our power to avoid them? And, we'll do everything, whether for me, we can get on the phone and scroll. That could take away, dealing with your emotions. Eating, which is a big one for me. I work at a alcohol and drug facility. So, drugs and drinking is a way to avoid, and in the hood, that was a that was our therapy, whether fighting or either, drinking and drugging. And that was our way to sabotage or cover up, to numb our feelings, whether it's exercise, something I love to do now. Is it working, working all these overtime hours, or is it yelling at people because you're frustrated because you can't articulate, how you truly feel. So you just start yelling at people, making them feel bad. Or is it going out and spending all your money that you don't have? Anything to cover up the emotions of anger or jealousy or loneliness or shame, guilt, whatever that may be. But we got to get to the point of dealing with our emotions, because they're there. I mean, they're real, man. We can't get away from them, man. It's a chemical reaction in our bodies. It's crazy thoughts going all over everywhere. Sometimes they don't have no rhyme or reason. And it's a tricky thing to know, because our feelings lie to us a lot. We have to be careful. We feeling something, and there's nothing wrong with how we feeling it, but it's just the way sometimes we articulate those emotions. So sometimes we have to ask ourselves, what is emotional perception? How do we perceive our emotions? And it's having the ability, man, to perceive those emotions. It's the ability to process, and that's a huge word for people. To process it, to sit down, take your time, and process what you're going through, man. To regulate it, because I do not want to over exaggerate the feelings that I'm feeling, but I also don't want to numb them and smother them, and I got to learn how to react to how my emotions are having me react at that moment. And it's uncomfortable, man, experiencing emotions, and it's likely that I have to get deep. It's unlikely I don't want to have to get authentic sometime with the emotions that I have in my life, especially, dealing with relationships in our lives. So, man, we got to get to the point of what is that those perceptions of the things that we're going through. Because the cool part is some people around us, man, they good at navigating their emotions, man. I mean, they're really good at it. And I love being around people like that, because it helps me to get my emotions in order. And if you're one of those people that are good at reading the room, and you can detect, like sometimes when I'm talking that, people in the room are getting bored when I'm teaching, and I have to learn how to flip the script and change up the scene and talk about something more different than what I'm talking about. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a huge difference. It's just one or two sentences here, and it'll change the atmosphere of the room. Because if I'm not careful, I can get up on a soapbox and, bore people to death. But I have to also be careful that, man, I want people to be engaged and be really focused in on what you're trying to give them, because, with our emotions, like I said, they are all over the place, so while some of our emotional perception is intuitive for some people, man, it's a struggle for some of us, man. So there are some areas I really can excel at. Sometimes when I'm around a lot of people, I can detect what's going on with them. But have you ever had it where you can look at other people and see what they're going through, and you can pick it out easily? But when you're going through what you're going through, it's hard to try to explain that. But the good news is, man, that we can practice this stuff. There's good news that we can study ourselves to see where our emotions are at. It's good to know that we can get better at this thing, man. I mean, I'm 55 years old, still navigating through my feelings and emotions on life in various ways. But it's so cool that I'm not the man that I used to be with my anger and my rage. And now I'm a lot more comfortable being chill and really paying attention to what emotions am I dealing with at the moment, and I don't always get it right, man. I don't always get it right. But we got to think about, taking your time, see what you truly feel, and deal with the emotions that you're going through. So as I said before, whether you want to believe it or not, emotions are a part of our human experience, man. That everybody has emotions, even the people that we don't think. We think they're emotionless. They are just numb to life. And the only time that usually happens is when we're drinking and drugging, So we have to make sure we're not doing all those other things, buying stuff, like I said, trying to run from those emotions, man. But we all gonna have them, so we got to deal with them. And we need to have them, because I got a beautiful mom. She's 90 years old, and eventually, guess what? She's going to pass away. So I have to be prepared for when that moment happens. A great deal of the time is making sure I appreciate her while she's still here, calling her, making sure she's doing all right, and just, talk about life and, where we're at this moment. I have the blessed privilege to work with my wife over at a nursing home here in Tucson, Arizona. And it's beautiful to see these people that are in their 80s and 90s, man. And they are doing so well, but at the same time, man, they have their moments, man, because we could be talking about something. And one of my favorite parts when we're doing this is when we play some of the old music from back in the 40s and 50s, man, and the clients just really love it. But you also can see the emotions that come with those songs because they have such an emotional attachment, because you know how music is for us, man. Music has those, I can think back, this week, back in 1978, man, when this song first came out, I was with this one girl and man, or we was at a barbecue having a good time, and we can just recall things because music brings those emotions with them. Music ain't just music, man. Music does so much for us. But while we signals, our emotions are giving us signals that are important, man, we got to be careful not to get caught up by our emotions, because emotional perception is important in forming deep and meaningful relationships, man. We got to really think about that. A lack of emotional perception keeps us stunted and out of touch with ourselves and with others. So it is so good to study yourself and see where you are at emotionally in your life. It is super important to understand that. Super important. We all have people who look successful on the outside, but behind closed doors, man, their personal life is out of control. It's jacked up. They hustling and grinding, making things happen, man, and they might look successful in areas of their life, whether it be their work life or they working out, taking care of their body and all that. But in the process of them hustling and grinding, trying to make this money, how many people have they stepped on in the process? How many people have they numbed themselves to as they trying to strive to be the best that they can be and accomplish all these different things, that they've numbed themselves to the emotions of the people that they're around, man. And I've been at jobs where I've had bosses, man, that were so numb, so harsh, so wrathful. I don't know if that's a word, but they wrath would just come crazy out on people. And then they would always want to come back and apologize. And I'm like, man, you are hurting and destroying the people's lives that you are working around, and you want them to be the best that they can be in serving you. So people have to think about that, man. That's important, man. So when it comes to relationships, you can get what you want. And I want you to think about that. How many people have gotten married and they have kids, and it seems like on the outside they're doing good, but they are emotionally bankrupt, and then they destroy the very thing that they've created. Destroyed that marriage. They're destroying the kids' lives because on the outside they got what they wanted, but man, they weren't emotionally ready for what was going to be entailed with the life that they were going to get. So now let's be clear about something. This is super important, man. Emotions are great for communicating information, but they are terrible as leaders, man. Emotions they are all over the place. And a lot of people sometimes would allow their emotions to run the show in their lives. And that is not what we supposed to be doing. So back in one of the episodes when we first started, called Hope for Change, I had talked about the order of, words and pictures. And then the next step after that would be thoughts, and that's thoughts of the heart, not your intelligence, not your brain, but it would be thoughts of the heart. But then right after thoughts of the heart would be emotions. And a lot of people would allow to have that initial thought in their heart, man, this person cheated on me. And then from that emotional thought comes of the heart comes the emotions. And then that's where we go all over the place. Man, you brokenhearted. Then you want to kill the person that did you wrong. And then you super sad. And then you just want to go and eat up everything that's in the refrigerator. You just want to go shopping and spend up all the money, anything to navigate that emotion of that pain that you're feeling, and call it what it is, man. It's pain, but Does it have to run the show? Does it have to cause you to do something that's outside of your character that's going to ruin your life forever? Emotions help us process information and inform us of our decision making. They are great, I call it seasoning to the things that we're thinking about in our heart. I feel this, and this is my own personal take, but emotions are supposed to be like that seasoning. So if I won a race, I won a championship in basketball or something, that feeling of joy, guess what? That's the seasoning on the accomplishment that I did. If I'm at work and felt like I couldn't get through to a patient, that sadness I'm feeling, but I can't allow that sadness to ruin it for the next couple of clients that I have to speak to on staying, in the recovery program and making everything happen good. So the emotions are there for seasoning, but they shouldn't be dominating my life and being in the driver's seat and calling the shots. They should not be doing that. So people who have emotional perception are usually people who have low emotional perception. Man, they usually are self-centered, condescending, and unpredictable. Man, super passive, or they can be super assertive. But people with high emotional perception, man, these people, which I love being around, they have understanding of their own thoughts and feelings. they're secure in who they are as people. They have great GPS in going through conflict well. They have great senses on like, man, I need to navigate this the right way, because if I don't, this could be hazardous. So they stop, pay attention to what they're feeling, and then navigate through what they're feeling and doing it very well. These are the people that create satisfying and deep relationships with their family and friends. They enjoy the moment. They're not in a hurry. They're not in a rush. They just are people that are in the moment, because these are the people that know that, man, you know what? You might not ever get this moment back in life. So our job is to slow ourselves down, pay attention to where we're at and what we're doing at that moment, to create lasting memories with the people that are in our lives. Because I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like it's almost like work to try to spend time with people now. I don't know why. I think COVID, it seemed like it did something to our senses, our emotions, our feelings, or something. But to me, it seemed like it's more work than ever to try to maintain healthy relationships now, because we have to literally sit down, pen in books and notebooks and calendars and, on our cell phones, time to just get away from everything and everybody and just spend time with people. So people that have a high emotional perception, man, they are good, man, at creating satisfying relationships. They make and keep friends more easily, because people love being around them, because these are the people that when you're around them, man, they just make you feel good, man. This is one older lady that was at our church, and she was like my mom here in Tucson, Mama Riddick. And I used to love watching people be around Mama Riddick, because anytime people got around Mama Riddick, anytime they went in for a hug, their chest would pump out or stick out, and she would hug them. And I was always amazed at, like, how does she have this effect? And she said she had a 4th grade education, but I was like, okay, Lord, the education level ain't got nothing to do with our emotional intelligence, because she would pull out the best in people. Whenever she would talk with people, she would make sure that she was always looking you in the eye and paying attention to the dynamics of where you were at in your life. And that was always so awesome that people loved being around her, because she would pull that out of them, because we all need that. We all need that mother around us that makes us feel so good and just love us just for us. We ain't got to earn their love. We just get their love. So that's always awesome. People with high emotional perception get better at leading and influencing people. Sometimes we don't have to verbally come out and, want to be maybe a manager at a job, but you always know that at a job, there's always people that you can look at, whether they have a title or not, that that influence a great deal of the atmosphere of where they work at. And that's phenomenal. And also people with high emotional perception are humble and open to learning and growing. And one of the best things I can tell you about getting older is I know for a fact that I don't know everything. I know I'm supposed to be around people, continue to learn, and grow, because there's so much the younger generation knows that I don't know. And it's good to be around them, to see that excitement and that joy that they have from being fired up about what they do know. And it's so awesome to be able to have that time to be able to be around them and learn some new things. Because if you don't know everything, man, don't lie and hide it. Ask people for advice and information that you need, so you can be the person that you need to be. So some of the few things that I wanted to talk about is having some ingredients. What is some ingredients that you can have for emotional perception? So, anytime you say the word ingredients, I'm thinking about food. So what is some ingredients that you can do to have better emotional perception? Because if you guys are anything like me, I want to be better at handling my emotions. I don't want to be all over the place. God gave us a beautiful gift of the spirit called self-control, and I love using that when I'm supposed to use it, so that I don't get all out of whack. So one of the main ingredients for emotional perception and learning how to have a better emotional perception is being self-aware. Self-awareness is knowing what you're feeling and why you are feeling it. So I'm going to give you an example of my life. So at least, usually once a year, I have this thing that kicks in with me. I call it the American way. And the American way is there's a certain standard of where you should be at in life in the American way. So me being 55 years old, I should have certain status by this time. I should have a certain amount of money in the bank by this time. I should have certain clout and certain things in life, being older gentlemen. So if I don't watch myself, I'll get caught up and start wanting to hustle and grind. I'll start getting too focused in on money versus being with the people that I'm with and focusing on them. So I have to catch myself yearly getting into this dynamic of always wanting to have, like, okay, man, I should have this much money by now. I don't know why I don't have this. And, I'm not making great decisions. So I start getting down on myself. So then I start looking for ways to hustle and make some extra money. And honestly, I live a pretty good life. I'm very grateful for where I'm at. According to the American way, I'm not anywhere close to what I should be having in the bank, but that does not dictate my emotional perception of where I'm at in life and what I'm supposed to be doing. So this is a huge one, man. You have to catch yourself saying, why around about this time of year do I have certain things that go through my mind, or certain things that I'm not aware of how I always around about this time of the year, I have a tendency to act a certain way, and it could be, let's be honest. By the time these podcasts come out, it's going to be around about November. And this is the time, where Thanksgiving and Christmas is happening. And when that time of the season comes, that's usually when our clientele picks up at the drug and alcohol facility. Why is that? Because instead of them acknowledging and being aware of their feelings and emotions, they have a tendency to want to just go cover it up with drugs and alcohol. And that's where you have to be aware of. I know at this time of the year, I get triggered, because I'm not get a chance to be around my family. My family don't usually want to have anything to do with me. I burn some bridges, and, because at the family events, they know I'm a clown and start drinking and acting a fool. They don't want me there. So that makes me emotionally sad. And when I'm sad, guess what? I start doing things I ain't supposed to be doing. So we have to be aware of those emotions that we're experiencing. We need to dig a little deeper and examine what's happening. What is our values and our beliefs when we're interpreting the world right now through our emotions. So we got to be very careful to that, and how we're responding to people and circumstances the way we do. We got to really be cognitive of that. Like, man, why am I acting the way I'm acting? Why am I thinking what I'm thinking? Why am I doing what I'm doing? There's other aspects of self-awareness that we got to be cognitive of, which means how others perceive and interpret my behavior. So if am I coming off, super aggressive? Am I coming off as a know-it-all? I got to be aware of that. How am I coming off to people? Because if they're dealing with their issues, I'm dealing with my issues. There's some chemistry up in there. It's just getting tore up. So we got to be careful of, man, what perception am I having of what's going on at this moment? Am I, how am I being perceived right now by other people? I might come across as confident to some people, and then other people I might come across as a jerk. So I got to be very careful of that. I have my own personal definition of conceited is where I have to put other people down to make myself feel good. But when you're confident in the gifts that God has given you, and you use them accordingly. So, some people's perception might be, man, this little cocky bastard, but it's also knowing that, you know what, I love doing what I do in it, and when I'm doing what God has gifted me to do, I'm pretty good at it, and I'm grateful that He gave me the gift, and my job is to use that. I got to make sure I'm not being super opinionated, because Lord knows I have my opinions about everything in my life. So I got to be very careful of that. I got to make sure I'm not being manipulative, because I've been given a gift, not to use that gift in the wrong way. So self-awareness, man, is a huge one. Another ingredient in having emotional perception is, man, make sure you use self-control. God has given us, for those who are believers, fruit of the Spirit, which is self-control. And that means God has given you the ability to be able to control yourself. We've read, when me and my wife was doing the episode, we are 100% responsible for how we react to something. Nobody is making you do anything outside your own ability. You are acting that way because you chose to act that way. So we can control ourselves. We don't have to allow our emotions to go crazy. But also, we don't want to ignore our emotions, and we don't want to stuff them. When we have an emotional feelings, because if we stuff them, I can guarantee you that down the line, they're coming out. So we got to find ways to express those emotions, man. Please do not just stuff them down, man, because a great way for us to lose it and have our lives go off course is to stuff our emotions, man, and ignore them. Deal with the emotions while you're having them. Please do that. Do not run from them, man. Don't let them run the show, but make sure you are also dealing with them as they come up, because you don't want to get to the point where you're distancing yourself from other people and not being around other people, because it's super important that, man, when people usually go into a depression mode, what do they usually end up doing? Going in the house, turning off the lights, shutting down, allowing a boob tube to run the show at that moment, and not really dealing with their emotions, instead of being around people, enjoying their lives, listening to other people's stories. So self-regulated, man, can come in so many different ways. So part of how you want to self-regulate or control yourself is some of the things that we tell the clients is, do some journaling, man. Do some journaling. I know that's something we don't talk about a lot. Usually around in the people that I hang around, I'm usually hanging around people that mostly the world has given up on them, and I love being around people that are like that, because I know that's where I used to be at. So a great way to handle our emotions during self-control, man, is journaling. Another great one is talking to somebody that you trust. That's big. I'm a firm believer, man. Get around people that you trust. Get around people that you can openly communicate to them, your feelings and emotions of where you are in life at that moment, man. So, cause living in emotional, living in your emotions, man, is a constant tug of war. It's a constant tug of war. Sometimes we up and everything is going well. And then sometimes we can be so down, man, because I just had this past Monday, man, I felt like everything was going wrong. I was like, man, why am I'm spilling coffee on papers that I ain't supposed to be spilling coffee on. Man, I'm running behind trying to get to work. Traffic is going great. I was in my emotions Monday morning, and I was like, okay, you always tell people this, so you better not do it. Don't you blame Monday for these predicaments that you in right now. It's just you having a moment. Slow down. you realize that you off course, and let's, pace ourselves and get out of this funk that we in. And a couple of hours later, I was able to get out that funk, and I was so grateful because I caught myself going down a path that I did not want to go. Another great ingredient for emotional perception is being motivated to learn something new. Partly with our emotions is, man, I used to be a person that used to explode in anger. Man, my rage was all over the place. And so by the time I took my anger management classes, man, I was able to learn how to navigate my emotions better, learn how to grow in my emotions, and learn how to change my emotions. So I was motivated to change my life, man, because I wasn't happy in the direction that it was going in. So I had to make sure I was motivated to say, you know what, man, there's some things I need to change and get going right, man, because if I don't, I'm going to continue to have the results that I have, and I'm not going to be happy down the line. And family, I love you enough to tell you, please start doing some inventory on your life right now and where your emotions take you. We can always do the surface stuff. I got this much money. I got these relationships. I got this health. I got my mind and I got my spirit. But how many times are we emotionally prosperous? Have you ever thought about that? We can be emotionally prosperous in the things that we're dealing with in life, man. Another ingredient you want to have is make sure you have empathy. And empathy is the ability to step into the experience of other people. So this is one of those things I had to write down. I wanted to make sure I got this right. So empathy is not the same as sympathy. Okay. So sympathy says I care about you, and I'm usually huge on this one. But empathy says I'm hurting with you. So it says in the Word of God, it says to grieve with those who grieve, and it says to mourn with those who mourn. So I'm good at caring about people. But to actually experiencing what they're experiencing and hurting with them, that's something I've had to work on. I've had to work really hard at trying to be in the moment with those people as they're hurting. Because when I was going through some of the things that I've been through in my life, whether it was a divorce or whether it was with my wife having the brain tumors, man, I couldn't find nobody that could understand or feel what I was feeling. Or let me say it with the first one, with the divorce. Most men don't talk about divorce. Most men don't tell you about the feelings and things that go through your mind when you're going through a divorce. So that one was huge for me to be able to be with men now. So when I tell them in my class, that my ex had cheated on me, with two different men, and we had two different kids in the marriage, man, and brothers be like weeping. And they was like, man, I ain't never heard a brother talk about him going through the divorce process and some of the hurt that he's had in his life. And I'm like, man, I'm at an age right now, man, I want to be totally transparent with my life. I want to be. I ain't saying that I always am. I'm gonna have to make sure that's clear. But man, I want to be so transparent with people that, man, I've been through some hurt, man. I've been through some pain. I've been through some, with the wife when she had the brain tumors. I didn't know how to feel, what to feel. I was all over the place. And for that moment, I tell, people, man, whatever you're feeling at that moment, don't let the feelings run the show. But I also want you to let yourself feel those emotions. Feel them, man. Feel them. Whether it was joy that we've, had the time that we've had in our lives doing ministry and doing things together. Whether it was the pain of not knowing what was this new season in our life and what we're going to be going through. So, man, empathy is a huge one, man. Please be around people, man, and see if you can work on feeling what they feel, man, because that's a huge one. You want to get to that point of having a deep connection with the people that surround you, man. Sometimes you don't have the words to say, and being cool with that. Please be cool with that. Part of being mature, part of being unselfish and unhurried is to be around people, man, and just be there and listen. God blessed us with 2 ears and 1 mouth. Cover up 1 ear, cover up cover up your mouth, and what do you still have left over? You got an ear. So we're supposed to listen twice as much as we speak, man. So, man, when you're around people, man, and you don't know what to say, you don't know how to react, just be there and listen, man. And if you have people around you, be able to talk to people that just will listen to you. So how can we improve again on our emotional perception, man? Learn how to label our feelings. And I know sometimes it's hard to label them because we can be frustrated one minute, we can be fine the next, we can be tired one minute, we can be anxious the next, we can be upset. But to be able to articulate and label your feelings is a big one. If you need to work with a therapist, man, go get you some help. Go get you some help. Yeah, you got to make sure that when you are hurting, man, because I actually had a session with the therapist that's at our job last week. Yeah, last week I had me a session because I'm like, as many times as I help people, guess what? I need some help myself. So I was able to get me a 30-minute session in with one of the therapists, and that felt so good, man, to get some stuff off my chest. He gave me some new insight on how to handle some areas in my life, and I was so grateful for what he gave me. But he was a safe place that I could be and just release my feelings and emotions. And, because he wasn't a great friend in meaning that, we're super close, he was able to give me some objective information on how to handle the situations I was handling in my life. So it felt really good to be at that moment. A great way. Also, some of the ingredients of emotional perception, man, is focus on people and not the task. Now, I'm one of those people, if I'm not careful, man, because I'm a person that loves checklists. It makes me feel so good when I can have me a checklist and check off things in my life so I can feel like I've accomplished something. But if I'm not careful, I'll forget the connection I need to have with people. I got to be very careful that I'm a people person. I love people. I almost feel like I'm a stewardess sometimes. I want to make sure that the plane that we going on, and most of the time I call my plane sobriety plane. I want to make sure we all get there safely. So whatever, pillow you need, whatever, snacks, peanuts, some water, soda you need, let's get there and get it going. But at some time, I'm also a super task-oriented person where I want to make sure I'm getting stuff accomplished. Because if I don't, I am so wrapped up in people, man, I might forget. But I want you to be focused on people. Don't get caught up on the task so much that you forget to be with people, man. And choose to be vulnerable. Remember, we talked about that. We need to ask for help. We need to ask for feedback from people that we trust. When you're going through something and you have people around you, man, they available to you. But sometimes we let our pride and our ego get in the way. So please get around people that you can be vulnerable with, man. You can tell them everything. Get a few select people. You just can't do this with everybody. Because everybody can't handle your problems and emotions. Everybody can't handle your dreams and your goals. So get you a few people in your life that you can expose yourself to. They ain't going to judge you. They love you enough to be there for you. Make sure that they're there to let you get stuff off your chest. They are there to sometimes put their foot up in I ain't going to say it, but you know what I was thinking. They there to put that foot up in there when you need it. But they also there to let you just vent. Just be there to listen and let you deal with the things that you need to deal with. So, man, dealing with your emotions and trying to improve your emotional perception, man, it's a beautiful thing. But use these steps to help you get through this stuff, man. Because if you don't, man, we will allow our emotions to run the show. And just using an example, if I'm I'm having a bad day, then this dude cut me off in traffic, then we having road rage. Then we pull the cars over and have road rage, and then we fighting each other. Then the police gonna come and then throw us in jail. Then we go to jail. Then we gotta sit there and mope about what we just did, and then we can't be at home with our wives and kids, and we can't go back to work because we had an emotional moment because we didn't deal with it correctly. Please, ladies and gentlemen, deal with your emotions. Understand how you're feeling and what you're going through, and navigate them correctly. This is your boy John Bacon with another segment of Bacon Bits. I love you guys. God bless.